Well, good morning and welcome to the John Quintero Show. And I got to start off. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. I'm 50% Irish, John Patrick Quintero. So very excited about today. We got the corned beef and cabbage brewing. We'll put the cabbage on a little bit later. Don't want it to be real soft. I want it nice and fresh. But we got the corned beef going and looking forward to a beautiful meal today. So hope everyone that celebrates St. Patrick's Day has a great day. Oh man, we got a lot to do. It was a really worldwide weekend. Crazy. A lot of great college basketball. We got Padre news. But I'll tell you, coming out of the Padre camp right now, I'm a little concerned, and I will get into that. But I know, the number one topic today is March Madness. And before we get into that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank everyone for, being good soldiers out there. Again, I really enjoy your comments, positive or negative. I enjoy your comments. I know some gentlemen said, "Man, we want Padre news from. We want Padre news." Well, you know what? I got to report the A topic, and the A topic right now is March Madness. But I'd like you to subscribe to the program. If maybe your first time you haven't subscribed, it only takes a few seconds, doesn't cost anything. And we're trying to build our viewership and very much appreciate anything you can do to help us increase our views. I've had a lot of people say, Coach, we didn't know you were on the air. We thought after you left radio, you were done. No, I'm not done. In fact, I'm having more fun now than I've ever had in my broadcasting career for a variety of different reasons. Number one, I can control my own destiny. And I'm doing the things that I really, really enjoy to do. And I enjoy my interaction with the fans. That's number one. That's always been number one. I got to mention this, and then we'll get into the program. When you first get on the air, you're just trying to establish yourself, and you're trying to build a fan base. And I obviously over 30 plus years did that. But I always felt that my listeners were an extension of my family, and I feel like that today. I'm not on the radio 5 days a week, 4 hours a day like I was for many years. I don't know if that day will ever happen. I tend to doubt it. Not that I'm even looking for it at this point in time. There's only a couple of people in the radio business I would probably go back and work for in the radio business. Radio's struggling right now. It's kind of dying on the vine. It's really sad because it's really cool. I never really liked the radio business, but I love, interacting with the fans. And that's why we started the YouTube program. So I'd very much appreciate it. You subscribe, like it, and please pass the word. I know there are a lot of Padre fans out there that would probably love to hear me talk Padre baseball. They'd like to probably shoot some questions at me. So please pass the word. Maybe if you're sitting in a seat next to somebody you've known, hey, Coach Quintero, man, he's still on the air. He's still on the air. And I don't know what we're going to do on baseball. We're going to kind of take it a wait and see approach. We may do more than 2 shows a week. I might get all revved up on a Wednesday night at 10:30 because the Padres won a 2-1 ball game or lost a tough 3-2 ball game, and I can't go to bed, and I might as well get on the radio or YouTube or Facebook or X and start talking about it with you fans out there. We can celebrate together and commiserate together, the way I look at it. But please subscribe. We're on 3 platforms now. We're on obviously YouTube. We're on Facebook at John Quintero, and we're on X at Coach Quintero 44. We got a great show for you today. We're not going to have a guest today. And we'll work on a guest maybe for Friday and next Monday. And of course, the Padres open up on Thursday, March 27th against the Atlanta Braves. But I want to start with college basketball because I'm really into this. And I'm really into it because I've been a part of the UC San Diego basketball program each of the last 2 years as their color analyst on their ESPN Plus broadcasts. And great group of guys. That's the thing. I've called games for a lot of teams over the years, and I've called games for good teams, bad teams, mediocre teams. This team here is just a great group of guys. And, last year they won 21 games, great group of guys last year. Most of them came back, a couple of guys left. But for the most part, they lost 2 starters from last year that transferred out to other schools. And I think now they're probably wishing, aside from their bank account, they wish they were a part of this. But nonetheless, everybody has to make their own decision. Um, but Eric Olin, the head coach, and you're going to hear his name rumored quite a bit right now. I was reading last night, kind of surprisingly, UNLV fired Kevin Kruger over there. I thought he was actually doing a pretty good job. But again, you're living in the shadow of the great Jerry Tarkanian over there with the running Rebels. And I heard Eric Olin's name mentioned for the UNLV job. I don't think that's a good job. I think years ago it was a good job. I don't think it's a good job any longer. They have very, very little patience with you. 2 or 3 years, you're going to be out if you're not winning big. Um, but yesterday, I got invited down. I was in church yesterday, and I get a text from Jeff Turiel, who, by the way, is just an incredible sports information director. As good a guy as I've dealt with in the media. Jeff Turiel, remember that name because he's going places if he wants to. Just solid guy. I could see him being a commissioner of a conference someday, but just a great guy. He invites me. He goes, Coach, I'd like you to come down and be a part of the NCAA announcement. And I kind of said, man, do I really want to, get dressed and head on down there after church? Well, you know what? I go, I got to because I really like these guys and I want to see these guys before they go to the NCAA tournament. And I want to congratulate them on their Big West championship. And man, I'll tell you what, you go back to Friday night, they were down early against UC Santa Barbara and came back and just boat raced them in the second half and ended up winning 69-51 after trailing 27-26 at halftime. And then Saturday night, they're down at one point in time in the first half by 9 to UC Irvine, and they cruised by Irvine 75-61. Niwa Tate Jones, MVP of the tournament. Hayden Gray, the kid out of Santa Fe Christian, 22 points, was fantastic. Chris Howell, the kid out of Torrey Pines, doesn't score a lot, but had a marvelous game on defense and had 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. And you go on and on about this UC San Diego team. And they win the Big West regular season title. Then they win the Big West tournament title against a team that's pretty much dominated the Big West the last, 10 to 12 years. Russell Turner and the UC Irvine Anteaters. So they win that game. And so they're 30-4, 18-2. They draw the University of Michigan. And you know what? When it went up on the board, the kids were all fired up. And then Seth Davis on CBS yesterday goes, well, I think UC San Diego will beat Michigan. Michigan, a 5 seed, probably deserved a little bit better seed. They ended up winning the Big West or Big Ten title yesterday against Wisconsin, a good Wisconsin team who blew out UCLA. Man, they ran UCLA off the court. But Seth Davis picked UC San Diego. We'll see what happens. They're going to play on Thursday. They're going to play in Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. That game will be on TBS at 7 o'clock. And just a great season for UC San Diego. And then the Aztecs get in, Florida. They're in the tournament, but they're in the first 4. They got to play tomorrow night in Dayton, Ohio. And Brian Dexter's got very little practice time, and Michigan does as well. But they're going to play tomorrow night on True TV at 6:10, taking on North Carolina. North Carolina, I don't know how they got in over West Virginia. There are a lot of teams that should have been in, but they're North Carolina. And their athletic director was the head of the committee, even though he couldn't be in the room when they were voting. He's obviously got a lot of friends in that room, and they threw him a bone. So North Carolina is in at 22-13, and they're 1-12 against Quad 1 opponents this year. They were 8-0 against Quad 2 opponents, whatever that means. But the Aztecs finished the regular season at 21-9. The good news, though, Magoon Gwath coming back. So I don't know how effective he will be. He missed the last 5 games, but having that 7-footer, man, what an incredible talent he is. Absolutely incredible talent. So we'll see what the Aztecs can bring. I think the Aztecs are going to show up. I really do. I feel good about that. And if they win tomorrow night, they play Friday against Ole Miss and Chris Beard. I saw Ole Miss earlier in the year. They were out here at the Lion Tree Arena for the tournament during Thanksgiving. And they got beaten the game I watched. Chris Beard is as good a coach as there is in the country. I remember doing a game many years ago when he was at Arkansas Little Rock, and they played San Diego State, and San Diego State was supposed to win. They put me on the broadcast because they knew I'd have a lot to talk about. They thought it was going to be a blowout. That's why I got the job. They thought it would be a blowout, and I could impart my basketball knowledge and kind of away from the game and more about what's going on in college basketball and this and that. And Chris Beard and his team came in and pounded the Aztecs, and Chris Beard went on, and we know he went to Texas Tech, and then he got himself in some trouble at Texas, and now he's at Ole Miss. But he's a heck of a coach. There's no question about it, and a very, very intense coach. So big opportunity for San Diego State tomorrow night in the first of four in Dayton, Ohio. Now, the other side of the brackets for the women, UC San Diego women 20-15. They won the Big West Championship over the weekend. They had they had an amazing run. Heidi Vanderveer, the head coach, they started out 1-8, and they won 3 games in 3 days in Vegas. They defeated Cal Poly 59-54. They got a buzzer beater Friday in the semifinals against number 1 seed Hawaii 51-49, and then they played a very tactical game against UC Davis and won that ball game. And now they're going to the NCAA tournament. Now, here's the deal. Did you know this is their first year of eligibility for both the men and women? They were in what they call the transitional period. They used to call it the probation period, going from Division II to Division I. They're the first basketball programs at a university, okay, in the history of college basketball to have both their men and women's team go to the NCAA tournament in their first year of eligibility. And I was talking with the athletic director yesterday, Earl Edwards, who came up, and very nice man. And thanks Steve Quiz and I for doing the game. Said, when they're on the road, he'll always, when he's on the road, and he can't get to a home game, he'll always tune in, or he'll go back and listen to what we had to say. And he wanted to thank us for our time and doing a quality job. So he told me that. And I go, well, that's great leadership. And he kind of smiled. But think about that. The first university in their first year of Division I eligibility to have both their men and women's team go to the NCAA tournament. That's fantastic. Now, they got an interesting situation here. Check this out. They play Wednesday night at Pauley Pavilion. 6 o'clock, they play Southern. Okay? They win that game. They get the opportunity to play Friday night against the overall number 1 seed in the country, UCLA, at Pauley Pavilion. Wow, the committee did them no favors whatsoever. And speaking of favors, the Aztec women, 25-9, Mountain West Conference tournament champs. They draw number 3 LSU. Kim Mulkey, great coach. They've got to go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and play in the Spokane Regional 1 on Saturday. Again, Aztec women 25-9, LSU 28-5. Aztec women a 14th seed, LSU a 3rd seed. And what's interesting is Stacey Terry Hudson, the head coach at San Diego State, once upon a time was an assistant at LSU. So I got you caught up on all of that. I just want to mention the fan support for college basketball in this town is really cool. And, I would say this, and I hope people at USD are listening. And this isn't about Steve Lavin. This is about USD. What do you think the USD alums are thinking right now? With both San Diego State's men and women's program going to the tournament, and UC San Diego, a brand new Division I program, going to the NCAA tournament on both the men and women's side. Folks out at USD, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. And it's going to come down to NIL money and making a definite commitment. Let's face it, football, they have football at USD, but it's not a Division I program. They got to put every resource known to mankind into that men's program and women's program. And by the way, the women, after 20 years, let Cindy Fisher go, and now they've got to find a new women's coach out at USD. And USD is going backwards right now. They got to figure out a way to get it rolling. Okay, I want to get to Padre news here. And I'll tell you what, I know the Padres are 8-15-1, and I'm not worried about the record. Okay, I'm not worried about the record. I'm not worried that Manny Machado chartered a plane the other night and brought a bunch of the dudes to the San Diego FC game. I'm not going to be concerned about that. That's actually a good thing. That means these guys are together. Okay, I know people some people thought it was cool. I think the soccer fans thought it was cool, and Padre fans go, "Oh well, God, why aren't they in Peoria working?" Well, you know what? It's an hour flight, and they don't have to go through TSA. They don't have to go through all the rigmarole that you and I have to go through. They came over, they watched the soccer game, they went back to the airport, got on a plane, ate in and out, and went back and resume activity. And they'll finish up spring training. Their final game is next Monday, the 24th, and they open against the Atlanta Braves on Thursday, March 27th. Later today, and I don't know, maybe during the show, Mike Schilt will give us an idea who's going to be the starting pitcher. But I'm going to tell you right now, I got to believe it's Dylan Cease for a variety of reasons. Number one, he pitched well yesterday. And his numbers yesterday were kind of a weird day. Again, the Padres yesterday played a doubleheader, and they split. They won in game one against the Angels over Tempe Diablo 4-2. Dylan Cease pitched okay. 4 1/3, 3 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. A little bit wild, but effectively wild. They won that game 4-2. Nothing big to report. Jose Iglesias 2 for 3 in RBI. Mike Brusau has already been sent down to AAA, 1 for 2 in RBI double. Connor Joe swinging the bat pretty well, 1 for 3, hitting 333 in the spring right now. And then in game 2, Arizona got the better of the Padres in Peoria 5-4. They out hit them 11-4. Kyle Hart 3 + 2 batters, 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Gave up a home run to Corbin Carroll. I think he's going to be okay. But he needs more work. He got sidelined a little bit. They were working on the backfield. Then he got the flu, and so he's a little bit behind. He threw those 2 innings a week ago in that rain out and looked pretty good yesterday. I think he's a little fatigued, just not ready to go yet. But I want to go back to the Padres starting pitcher because Mike Schilt hasn't announced it. I thought he might announce it before their game today against Milwaukee and Peoria. And by the way, they're going to go left-hander Wes Benjamin. They're kind of tapped out as far as starting pitching. I think Dylan Cease is going to be the guy. Michael King, he pitched over the weekend. He pitched better, but he's not ready. He's not ready. He needs a little more work. In fact, the other day, he pitched and probably pitched as well as he's pitched so far in the spring, but his ERA right now is not good. I mean, it's sitting at 6.23. On Saturday, he went 4 innings, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts, gave up a homer to Randy Arozarena. ERA is 6.23. I don't think he's looked that great. I thought going to spring training, he would be the opening day starter, but I think it has to go to Dylan Cease. Yu Darvish, who started 3 opening days here in San Diego, I don't know what's going on with him. He was going to throw a bullpen yesterday, and they shut it down. He's got arm fatigue. Now, I don't know if it's arm fatigue or dead arm. And the reason I wonder about that is because Yu Darvish is always in great shape. I would think that he would not have dead arm. If it's arm fatigue, I'm a little more concerned about that. Dead arm, your arm just doesn't have a lot of juice in it, but arm fatigue, a little bit different. And they didn't say it was like dead arm period. They said it was arm fatigue, and they shut down his bullpen. They were saying he may throw today. He was supposed to start tomorrow. They said the next earliest start would be on Thursday. I'm concerned. And then you got Matt Waldron on Friday night who's warming up and has an oblique. And it doesn't look like he's going to be able to start the season now. And we've heard that Randy Vasquez has maybe a little forearm tightness. Man, that's not good. That's not good at all. I mean, if you had to start the year, and I'm not saying that they're going to, but if you had to start the year without Yu Darvish, now you're down to 3, legit guys. Okay, with King not pitching all that well, Cease, and Nick Pivetta. Man, thank God they signed Nick Pivetta. They don't sign Pivetta, man, they really would be in dire straits. And Johnny Brito, he's having some problems right now. So, I think Vasquez is going to be fine. he may just be going through a little bit of a dead arm period right now. We'll see when he pitches again. But Yu Darvish is a little bit of a concern. Get some questions in. Padre pitching will exactly be a weakness. Darvish hurt, Musgrove hurt, King and Cease itching to be traded. Padres might finish fourth. I don't see that. I see him finishing second or third. The Giants may be improved, and maybe with Buster Posey up there, they'll get all juiced up. And I don't mean it that way, not the Barry Bonds treatment, but they may get all fired up. And I know Jung Hoo Lee's hurt again. He's getting an MRI, got some back problems. Of course, a good-looking player was having a pretty good spring too. And they've done some things, and they're going to be, I think, a little bit more motivated. But I don't think the Padres are going to finish fourth. If they finish fourth, that means they're probably out of it at the trading deadline, and then you're going to see some guys going out the door for whatever you can get for them. I hope that's not the case. But you got some guys right now battling a little bit and scuffling. Darvish is a concern. Darvish is going to turn 39 in August, man. They still got him under contract for a few years. And I love Darvish because he's a real pro. But, hey, let's face it, Father Time is undefeated. And at some point in time, this guy's thrown 19 years of professional baseball. I mean, some guys wear out after 10 years of professional baseball. The guy keeps himself in great shape. But you only have so many bullets in that arm. And we'll see where it goes. And hopefully they get some good news. Hopefully he's feeling better today. And we'll have a more of an in-depth report on Friday, kind of where he's at. But the Padres have some big decisions to be made on that pitching staff. And I wanted to get to the catchers a little bit. I got to tell you, this catching situation is dismal. It really is. And Elias Diaz will be fine. He's a good receiver. The Padres like him behind the plate. I think he'll hit. He's having a miserable spring, though. He's 3 for 22, hitting 136 right now. In fact, you look at the left field spot, all the guys competing for that left field spot, aside from Jason Hayward, who I don't know how he makes his team. I really don't. But maybe because he's Jason Hayward, he makes this team, and I know they love his leadership skills and all that. I want a guy that can swing the bat. The guy can still play great defense. But he doesn't look good. And there are other guys that are outplaying him. You got a lot of guys outplaying him. Gavin Sheets hit another home run over the weekend. Oscar Gonzalez hasn't slowed down. Terso Ornelas has done a great job. Connor Joe is really heated up. Those 4 guys are playing really well right now. And Gavin Sheets, somewhere, you got to find a way to get this guy in with his power. Got 6 home runs. His OPS is well over 1,000 in the spring. And I know it's the spring, but I told you, I thought the Padres might have something in this guy. And I talked about it Friday, about him working with Victor Rodriguez. This guy's got some untapped potential. And I think, he's probably going to hit 240, 250, but that could correlate to a lot of extra base hits and RBIs. And he's not going to be a butcher on defense. He can play first. He can play left. And if you need to give Fernando a day off, he can play right. But the left field guys, aside from Jason Hayward, are doing a hell of a job. And I'd throw Brandon Lockridge in there. I don't think Lockridge makes this team for me, but we'll wait and see. They've got some tough decisions. You want tough decisions. If you're a manager and coach, you want tough decisions. And the reason for that, guys are playing well. You don't want easy decisions because one guy's doing well and the other 3 guys suck. You want tough decisions. There's going to be some bitter disappointment when they have cut down day because the left fielder are doing a hell of a job. But the catching, I don't know what to do. You got to be looking on the waiver wire right now. And I talked to somebody over the weekend that's been out there quite a bit with the Padres. I go, what's the deal with the catchers? He goes, well, they love Maldonado and they love Elias Diaz behind the plate. I go, that's great. You got to give Maldonado a tennis racket to hit with. Maldonado right now in the spring is 1 for 17. No homers, 1 RBI, an OPS at 259, an on-base percentage at 200, and he's hitting 059. 059. And that's coming off of hitting 119 last year and being released later in the season by the Chicago White Sox, who lost 121 games. I don't know how you keep Martin Maldonado. I don't know. And I know in his career, he's like a 203 career hitter, but you know what? I would take him at 203 because he'll every once in a while, he'll turn on one or he'll hit a double for you. But if he could hit 203, I'd take him. I can't take a 119 guy from a year ago. And it's been a few years since he's been able to hit 203 for that matter. But a great catch and throw guy, great leader behind the plate. He's got everything you want in a catcher. He just can't hit. He's 38 years of age. And then Elias Diaz, who's going to be 34, hitting 136. He's 3 for 22. No homers, no RBIs, a 310 OPS, and a 174 on base percentage. And then you go to Brent Sullivan, 143, 3 for 21. No homers, no RBIs, a 360 OPS, 217 on base percentage. Luis Camposano, man, he tearing it up. He hitting 182. He had a 3-run homer yesterday. But Campy, 4 for 22, 1 homer, 4 RBIs, and a 535 OPS, and a 217 on base percentage. And he's the leader in the clubhouse right now, hitting 182. I'd ask you Padre fans right now, what do you do? Who are the 2 catchers you're going to keep on this ball club? Tell me that. You can't be an automatic out. You cannot be an automatic out. I don't care if they hit you 9th in the order. You can't be an automatic out. You got to be able to bunt. You got to be able to, put the ball in play. You can't line out to the catcher, as I like to call a strikeout. But, these averages are dismal. And then, I'm not going to pick on this kid because I think he's going to be a hell of a player. But Ethan Salas, who hit 206 last year, and I know everybody was all excited about what he did in the Arizona Fall League. He hit 4 home runs. That's great. And maybe gave him a little confidence. But in big league ball games, he's 1 for 9. No homers, 1 RBI, a 651 OPS. Doesn't turn 19 until June 1st. Hitting 111. This is one of the top prospects in baseball. What is going on? Ethan Salas is better than 111 hitter, but he hit 206 in high A ball last year. Hector wants to bring up the kid Salas. I don't. I want him to stay down there. I want him to continue to grow and get better. He's going to be a good one, though. He's going to be a good. I'm big on him. And Leo DeVries, the middle infielder, the shortstop, he's not swinging. He's 18 years old, and he's in big league camp, and he's going to be a hell of a player. I talked to scouts from other organizations. They want the guy. The guy is going to be one hell of a player. We got a couple of guys. Now, think about this. We got Fernando Tatis, who's 22. We've got Jackson Merrill, who's going to be 22. Or, excuse me, Tatis is 26. Jackson Merrill's 22. And I love Jackson's comments over the weekend when they asked him at the San Diego FC game, what do you think? He goes, man, this is awesome. This is big time. He goes, we need to have more teams in San Diego, and San Diego needs to get an NFL team back. I love that. But think about that. Tatis, still young. Jackson Merrill, 2nd year. And then you've got on the rise these 2 18-year-old kids. They're going to be damn good players, but you don't want to rush them. You don't want to rush them. You got to keep them right where they're at and let them gradually build. Let them, even if Salas has to go back to high A ball, or you keep him in high A ball until the All-Star break and then move him up to Double A. Maybe before he turns 20, he gets to the big leagues. It's a possibility. But he got to do his work. He's got to continue to grow. You got to keep him motivated. Kid's special. I think he really is. Doesn't have any man, so he got pretty good power. But you got to continue to work on his approach at the plate. Swing at strikes. Guy's going to put up some numbers. He's going to be a good offensive player. But, man, I don't know what Padres are going to do. Anybody out there got an idea? Can somebody help me out on this? I have a feeling, from what I'm hearing right now, Campy's probably going back to AAA. And you're going to go with Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado. Wow. Now, again, Diaz is going to hit. He'll hit 250 to 260. He hit 265 combination between the Padres and Colorado last year. The Red Devil NC. Bring Grandal back and team him with Campy. Yasmani doesn't have a job. Yasmani, I'll tell you what. A lot of guys didn't like Yasmani Grandal. He was an acquired taste. I liked him. I remember interviewing him at a fan fest one time when Yonder and him came. And he's got some a rough exterior, but I liked him. And he's a gamer, and he's gone on and really had a really nice career. Really nice career. But I don't know if he's going to get a job. I think we're going to find out a lot as the week goes on and over the weekend and early next week when there's cut downs, because there's still a lot of guys out there who are looking for jobs. But Yasmani Grandal, I don't know if the Padres would bring him back. I don't know. I don't know if he ruffles some feathers here, but you know what? Not everybody's going to be a choir boy. But he's a tough, hard-nosed guy. The game meant something to him. But that's kind of where we're at on that. But the catching situation, wow, dire straits. I'm really anxious to see what they're going to do in left field, though, because they got a lot of guys doing really well. Can the Padres really afford to keep Jason Hayward because he's Jason Hayward? Dodgers, and they loved him. He was Freddie Freeman's best friend, and they dumped him. That said something to me. And then he went to Houston, really didn't do anything for Houston. Dodgers got a bad break over the weekend. Mookie Betts, I think he's coming back to L.A. Got sick, lost 15 pounds. He didn't have 15 pounds to lose. They open up tomorrow morning. And then Wednesday morning. I'm not getting up. Maybe if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll look at my phone and see what the score is. I'm not getting up. I'm not going to wear myself out watching the Dodgers and Cubs, I can tell you that. Hopefully they'll replay because I would like to watch that, but I'm not going to get up at 3:10 in the morning. I don't know about you. But that's kind of where we're at right now. And, a lot of question marks. Padres have a lot of decisions to be made. Very anxious to see who their bench brigade is going to be. I mean, Jose Iglesias got to make this team. He had a couple hits yesterday. Did 267. Doesn't have many at bats. Just kind of getting his feet wet. The guy can play defense. Play great defense. Okay, I want to get to some questions now. Let's get to some of our coaches' mailbag. All right. Let's see. PR Superfly. Anyone else afraid guys are checking out of spring training by going to soccer matches back and forth? The Rise only starter locked in, everyone else still finding their stroke. And I'm like I said earlier, I'm not really concerned about them taking a private plane, flying over, watching a soccer game, and eating in and out and flying back. And they probably got back. They probably got back to Arizona by midnight. That's not bad. You know what? I think it's good team bonding. There were about 12 of those guys. They all had jerseys. That's pretty cool. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I think we got all the players on all the different teams. I know we have a lot of minor league sports in San Diego, but everybody needs to support one another. It should be a close-knit fraternity. I know, between the Padres and the Chargers, there was always that tension. They're always competing for the almighty buck. But there was always great camaraderie between the Charger players and the Padre players, especially when they were at Qualcomm. Guys that get in the batting cage or guys that come out, Padre players that come out and punt the football or fire the football around. There were a lot of good stuff. But I thought it was pretty cool. And, I know their record is 8-15-1 in the spring, but just get out of there healthy. Manny hadn't found his stroke. Arise, you mentioned Arise. Oh, my God. Guy's swinging the bat so well. So well. I mean, at one point in time where he was 10 for his last 16. Really doing a good job. Justice. Now all they have to do is learn how not to lose the game. 5-14-1, piss poor even by preseason standards. Yeah, I guess they counted the other game yesterday, so I had them 8-15-1. They're not gonna win the Cactus League. They're not gonna be able to go over to Best Buy and get a free TV this year. But the bottom line, Mike Schultz, a veteran manager, he's not like some rookie. I think there's some areas that the Padres are probably concerned about. I think it has to be their starting pitching. They got to be concerned about the catching. Everywhere else, I think they're going to be pretty good. They're going to have a good bullpen. And I think with all the guys they have to draw from, they're going to have a good bench. This team is going to be pretty good. So let's not pee on their Wheaties yet. Let's wait and see how they get off. They open up, man. They got 4 against the Atlanta Braves. I'm not going to opening day, but I'm going to the Sunday game. I think it's a nationally televised game at 4:10. My wife and I are going. We've been invited to the ball game that day. We're gonna take one in. But I think they're a little concerned right now. Chris Davis. I know that guy, good guy. I love Jake, but he's at best a platoon player now. Well, Chris, I brought it up a couple of shows ago that I think Jake Cronenworth, with the signing of Jose Iglesias, I think against left-handed pitching, not all left-handed pitching, but some left-handed pitching, he's going to need to sit down. He needs to sit down. He hit 203 last year with 1 homer and 10 RBIs against left-handed pitching. You can't put a guy in there when you got a guy like Iglesias, who last year in 92 at bats with the Mets hit 405 against left-handers with 1 homer, and I think he had 5 doubles. You got to have him in there. Iglesias got to play a little bit. Guy puts the ball in play. You can't have strikeouts. Cronenworth's still a good player. Yeah, you match him up against right-handers, pretty good. But left-handers, and I know he's kind of re-tinkered with his swing, which isn't a bad thing. He had a hard time getting the barrel head through the hitting area last year. A lot of times he was collapsing that back elbow where he was pushing the bat rather than swinging the bat. And, I mean, anybody that's spent any time at all around hitters, I mean, that was obvious. You just tell him, hey, you know what, Jake? Hit a hard ground ball at the second baseman when you're in batting practice. I got that many years ago at batting practice. I talked to Hal McRae, the great hitter with Cincinnati and with the Kansas City Royals. He was a hitting coach for the Cardinals. I went up to him at batting practice, like I did a lot of times, and talked to hitting coaches just about philosophy and what they would tell their hitters. And Hal McRae goes, yeah, when I got a struggling hitter, I tell him, right-hand hitter, hit the ball hard right at the shortstop. In contrast, you do that with a left-hand hitter, hit the ball harder to the second baseman, get the barrel of the bat through the baseball. And a lot of times last year, how many foul balls did Cronenworth hit last year? In fact, he should be a fan favorite. He's sending out souvenirs right and left with foul balls. I mean, there are a lot of kids in their homes in San Diego have foul balls hit off the bat of Jake Cronenworth because he couldn't get the barrel head through the hitting area. But I agree, Chris. I think Mike Shildt, and I know it will be a tough call. He played in 155 games, if I'm not mistaken, last year, and he wants to be in there every day. But you know what? Less could be more with him. And you got a great option in Jose Iglesias, who I'm a big fan of. I thought it was a great sign by A.J. Preller. A.J. Preller has really, in the last year and a half, hit on a lot of guys. He really has. Douglas Nunez, outstanding guy. This guy would have been a great middle infielder. I could see him turning that double play out there. High coach from Portugal. That's great. See if you can find any players in Portugal for me, will you, Douglas? Douglas is a great fan. He always has his opinion. I love his opinion. Hey, Coach, love the show. I have to wonder if one of Connor Joe or Jason Hayward doesn't make the team. Well, if you're going on performance, Connor Joe makes the team. Connor Joe is hitting 333. Let's see, what did Connor do? Yesterday was 1 for 3. He's getting on base at a really high clip. I think Connor Joe makes it. And I'm going to tell you why. He can play left. He can play right. He can play first. The Padres actually list him as an infielder and be a first baseman. But I can tell you this, and I shared this a while back. When I was working for John Boggs, the agent, I started this workout group. And we worked out at Cathedral High School. And we had all kinds of guys out there. Connor came out. Wynton Bernard came out. A bunch of guys that John Boggs was representing. And I'd work these guys out. And we'd have batting practice. We'd take infield practice. Well, Connor was playing third. And I grabbed my old first baseman's mitt. This is about, 2018 maybe. So about 7 years ago. Connor's playing third, and I'm playing first. Man, he'd fire that ball from third base, man. It hit my mitt like a brick. Guy got a good arm. Real good. He's a real strong guy, by the way. But he could play third. In a pinch, he could play third, and he's played a lot of first. He was drafted as a first baseman out of USD. But here's the other catch on Connor Joe. He can catch. When he came out of Poway High School, and the first time, I'll tell you the first time I ever met Connor Joe, I saw him play at Poway just a little bit. But there was a young man that was pitching at USD. This was the first time I ever met Connor Joe. And his girlfriend was in the media here in San Diego. And she tapped me on the shoulder one night when I was sitting down with Randy Jones. And she goes, "Hey, coach, my boyfriend's a pretty good pitcher at USD, and he's trying to get a chance to play professional baseball. Would you work him out and give him your evaluation?" And I took that as a real honor. So I gave her my phone number. She's a good looking girl, but it wasn't like that. So I go, "Give this to your boyfriend and have him call me." So he called me and we set up a workout at Torrey Pines. And I go, "You got to bring your own catcher." He brings Connor Joe. And Connor's got his gear on. And so we're working out in the top field at Torrey Pines. And this pitcher ended up signing and played a number of years. Now, didn't get to the big leagues, but I think he got at least a double, if not triple A. And it hurt his arm and his career was over. But that was the first time I met Connor Joe. And so I started following him. And he was at USD. And, I remember going down and I did a couple of USD games and great guy, great family, but he was a good catcher. But Rich Hill decided to play him at first base. I think they should have left him behind the plate, but that's here and there. They had another guy that was pretty good, and I think eventually signed a pro contract. But Connor ended up being a first-round pick by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he's had this long journey, and then he had testicular cancer. But the guy can play, and he's not going to hit 300. But he's going to get on base. He's going to make plays, and he's busting his ass. I think he makes this ball club. Okay, Jason Hayward, I would love for him to be on this club, but you got to go back about 5 or 6 years because he just doesn't have it. A little bit stiff at the plate. Let's take a look. Okay, Michigan is huge, the tallest team in the country. How does UC San Diego counter their size? By quickness. They're quick. Hey, they went against Ben Loyston the other day, a 7-footer who's a real pain in the ass. And they held him to 10 points, 3 of 7 shooting. He didn't do squat in the second half. But they've got to be strong. They got to block out. They just can't play on their ability. They got to block out. They got to execute the fundamentals of basketball. I think they can play with Michigan because I know Michigan's going to come in and they're going to try to bully them. The other thing that's going to be a factor in not just in the UC San Diego Michigan game, but all the games. How are the officials going to call the game? Are they going to let the guys play? If they let them play, it might be tough for UC San Diego because Michigan's going to come in and try to play bully ball. That's what the Big Ten's all about. And that would be a problem. If they call the game the way they're supposed to call the game, then I think Michigan could be in foul trouble. But we'll have to wait and see. But they've got great three-point shooters. I mean, Hayden Gray had a huge night the other night. What was he? 6 for 7, I think, on three-pointers. They got to get Tyler McGuy going, the Tritons. He hadn't shot the ball real well. And Tate Jones is not a three-point shooter. And he was good at get the ball at the free throw line or match up whoever and go to the bucket. But he also is a great creator. He had 9 assists in the Santa Barbara game, and he had 8 more in the finals against Irvine. So good stuff there. Okay, if we got other questions, go ahead and send them in, and we'll talk about them. Man, I'm so fired up. I got to tell you, I have had some time. Normally, I don't have a lot of time to sit around and watch a bunch of games, but I've watched so much basketball. I even watched the WAC championship the other night. But I've been watching these spring training games. God, the games from Florida are just brutal. Those Grapefruit League games, I can't stand them. I just can't stand them. And I heard, oh, by the way, I got somebody tapped me on the shoulder. I've been asking about where the hell are Orsillo and Grant? And Jesse and Tony and Bob Scanlon, they've done a great job. They're doing these webcasts, keep the price down because Padres don't have a big TV contract, as we all know. But I was told, I said, where the hell is Orsillo and Grant? Are they going to work it all? Or are they waiting for opening day? Well, apparently they're going to call a game on Thursday, and they're going to call a game on Saturday. So we're going to get 2 real TV games during spring training. But you know what? Thank you to Jesse. Thank you to Tony Gwynn Jr. And thank you to Bob Scanlon for being on those webcasts. Or I'd be really up in arms. Because radio, they only play the night games and the weekend games. I remember the days of Bob Chandler, Ted Leitner, and by the way, Ted's on a short leash. Yeah, if the Aztecs get beat tomorrow night, Ted Leitner's broadcasting career is over. That's that's a tough one. That's a tough one for me because I love Ted Leitner. We're very good friends, I think. I look at it as we are. We got to do Aztec football one year together and had a blast. Um, and we'll get Ted on the program. I want to keep Ted in the loop because Ted, loves being a part of our San Diego sports community. And I mean, you think about going from Padres to Aztecs, football and basketball. So Padres go away. He does a couple more years of football. Football goes away, and now basketball is going to go away. It's going to be tough for Ted, and I feel for him. And but I remember when he first came, I think it was 1978. I remember the commercials. They had him working out in a weight room, and Ted's really a great guy. And he did a lot of stuff in this town, a lot of stuff in this town. And I remember, I'll just share with you real quick. I had done, I think, a basketball game with them once upon a time, but they in basketball, nobody ever wants to pay anything in this town. So that's why I'm really thankful to do UC San Diego basketball, and they actually pay me and where the play-by-play guy doesn't have to do the entire game by himself. But in San Diego, they've always gone the cheap route in radio, to where they don't want to have a color analyst for basketball. Football, of course, you're going to have a color analyst. But I did one game, I think, with Ted in basketball, and I don't even remember how that happened. But then I got to work football 1 year with him before the station I was at lost the contract. And then he was all mad because I wouldn't go to the other station. I go, man, Ted, I can't go. I go, John Lynch will fire me if I work weekends on the other all sports station in San Diego. And I remember one night he was yelling at me at a Padre game. He had his food tray. He goes, I can't believe it. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I can't believe you're not going to go in and try to keep doing the Aztec games with me. I go, Ted, I can't. Mr. Lynch won't let me do that. You're not going to let me go on a competing radio station and be the Aztec football color analyst. And I'd done it for like 7 years, and I was bummed, but I understood. But anyways, I get to do 1 year of football with him, and we had the best time. We had the best time. I was a little nervous, quite frankly, to talk, with Ted. I had never worked with him for an extensive period of time. We're going to do a whole football season, and man, he couldn't have been better. It was so much fun. We ate together, we traveled together, we sat together on the plane, really developed an incredible relationship. He's a great guy. And I'll be honest with you, I'll watch the game tomorrow night, but I'm going to listen to his radio call tomorrow night because it could be the last night Ted ever broadcast a sporting event. But we'll get him on the show here real soon. I got a lot of respect for Ted Leitner. I really do. Okay, just real quick on soccer. Over 30,000 on Saturday night. I guess they started some kind of chant. Maybe it was a chant that everybody's yelling and screaming about. But that made bigger news than the game itself. But San Diego FC played Columbus to a 1-1 draw. Kind of disappointing. They played the last 30 minutes. Columbus did with man down. They had a player get a red card in the 61st minute. San Diego FC, even though they outshot them, more shots on goal, they couldn't get it done. But right now they're 2-0-2. They're playing well. They play next Sunday down in Austin, Texas, against the Austin FC, who are 2-0. So it should be a fairly decent match down. It's going to be at 1:00 down in Austin Q2 Stadium. And then yesterday, well, I'll tell you what, you talk about a franchise that went through some very difficult times, both on the field and off the field last year, the San Diego Wave. I'll be honest, I didn't even realize they were playing yesterday. But they played Angel City up in LA to a 2-2 draw. So kind of a rough go. Actually, it was 1-1. Yeah, it was 1-1. That's a mistake there. A 1-1 draw yesterday. So they'll come home, and their next match is going to be on Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium, 7:00. I got to tell you a funny story. Last week, my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters, that plays soccer, she's a goalie for Encinitas Express. She was coming from her softball game. and they were driving through this parking lot. And she told her mom, "There's Alex Morgan. There's Alex Morgan." Alex Morgan was going into a nail salon. And by the way, she's pregnant. And my granddaughter gets out, she's 9 years old, and she recognized Alex Morgan. And this is great. She goes in the salon and walks right up. She goes, "I'm sorry, but I had to come say hello." And Alex Morgan couldn't have been nicer. And they got a nice picture together. And my daughter said that my granddaughter almost didn't let the car get stopped. She was so excited to get out of the car. And then this is the kicker in the whole thing. The next day, my grandson had a baseball game up at the Y in Encinitas. And afterwards, the family decided to go, "Hey, we're going to go to," I think it was Hamburger Hut, something like that. They go in there, and Alex Morgan's in there with her family. And she must have thought that my daughter and my granddaughter were like trailing her, had a GPS on her. They saw her 2 days in a row. But that's a great story. Okay, we're going to get out of here. And I hope you enjoyed the program. And we're going to get you a lot of Padre news. Later in the day, we're going to find out who the Padres are going to start in game one on that Thursday on the 27th against Atlanta. I'm telling you right now, I got to believe it's Dylan Cease. Got to believe it's Dylan Cease. We'll have more on Friday regarding Yu Darvish. Who knows? Maybe we'll even have cut downs. And we'll actually have a couple of baseball games to talk about. Real baseball games. Dodgers, Cubs, they play early tomorrow morning and early Wednesday morning. And again, I would ask you to leave comments. We always love the comments. Oh, it's coming down right now. Michael King named opening day starter. I'm a little surprised just because I don't think he's fared all that well so far in the spring. But you know what? Going into spring training, like I said earlier in the broadcast, I thought that he had earned it. So even though he hasn't pitched great, he's going to be the opening day starter. So I'm glad we got that on before we get out of here. Hey, up to the minute, man. Up to the minute. Man, we're getting it done on this show. But again, I want to thank everyone. Make sure you subscribe, like the program, send those comments. I love that very much. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook at John Quintera, and follow me on X at Coach Quintera 44. Enjoy the tournament, and we'll be back in bright and early, 10 a.m. on Friday morning. Get you as much information as I can possibly drag out of Peoria. Until then, have a great week, everyone. And remember, happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye.